One of the most common questions I get from clients in their sessions as an intuitive health medium is, how do I heal? Like, so much information comes through in my sessions, but then the next question is, how do I begin my healing journey? And that's where the secret of yourself is, because everybody heals differently, because we all react to trauma and stress differently, which changes our energy and how we store trauma energetically and how it manifests into illness. It all begins with how we react, what we think, and what we speak. And we're all different in all of those areas. So what I'm going to do today is share my story with you about how I suffered a significant amount of trauma to my throat chakra, the illnesses that manifested from that, and how I healed through it. So back in 2021, trigger alert, very bad story coming. My neighbor, when I moved into my home for the first 3 months, cased me, stalked me, harassed me on my property, tried to break in relentlessly. It went on for 3 months. Mother's Day evening, 2021, he walked right into my kitchen and he strangled me. Now, where this really gets interesting is there was no justice. He was charged with 2 felonies. He was let go. And after 2.5 years of court hearings, they dropped one of the charges and he served 18 months on a tether until he turned 18 years old. He is a free man throughout the city. He lives less than a mile from my house. Now, what happened in those 2.5 years of those ridiculous court hearings where nothing was solved and all of my evidence that I tried to provide was not included in the case, I was either screaming at the top of my lungs trying to get justice and be heard because everything they were doing was wrong and did not protect me, or I was remaining completely silent because I was trying with all my might of every strength in my body to not look argumentative because I didn't want to look like the bad guy. Do you hear I had to be silent to not look like the bad guy, even though I was almost unalived in my home on Mother's Day. So it was about a year after everything went down that I noticed I no longer had any type of emotional reaction to food, and everything had hardly any flavor at all. I mean, whether I was eating like a jar of jalapenos on pizza or a slice of bread with butter and honey, it almost tasted the same because I hardly had any sense of flavor. So what ended up happening from there as this issue escalated, because I wasn't healing anything, because I wasn't connected to it. I was still in like fight or flight mode. I mean, I'm telling you, my energy vibrated at like a traumatic state. It was like I was being tased repeatedly every day. I felt like that for like a year. So I was in this constant reactive state. So I wasn't like connected at all with my body. I was just realizing I didn't like food. It just didn't matter to me. And what ended up happening as it escalated is I started suffering from chronic fatigue and pain and different issues because I now wasn't getting the nutrients, because I'm really healthy. I'm a very clean eater. So I was like lacking in magnesium and minerals and vitamins and just nutrition in general, because I just didn't care if I ate. So I'd like have a yogurt or maybe have like a scrambled egg or a salad, and I was just eating real random. It totally derailed my health. So shortly after that, as it continued to escalate, I sat back and I had to really dig deep within myself. So back in the video, in the very beginning, when I talked about our soul secret, our secret of ourself, how we heal belongs to us, I had to sit back and realize that I was harboring trauma and stress in my throat chakra, because taste, the mouth, everything in this area resonates with the throat chakra. And I was sitting there like, how am I going to learn to like food again? I could care less if I like food. Like, I just didn't care. It was almost like a depression, because I just didn't care anymore if I liked food, but I had to heal it because it was important to have that joy. I mean, just to even eat something and enjoy it, that affects our energy. So what I ended up doing every single day, and you can't laugh because this worked, I had a meditation, and in my meditation, I meditated about eating foods I enjoyed. So I would sit in my space for 15 minutes every single day, and I would manifest in my mind a food that I knew I enjoyed, even if it was a food I hadn't eaten in a long time. Like one of my favorite pizzas, it isn't even in my state, it's in California, stuffed pizza. I would visualize myself eating and enjoying stuffed pizza, and I would visualize myself tasting it, which means I brought attention to my taste buds, I brought attention to my mouth, to my tongue, I brought attention to my chewing, and I would just sit there and I would like even take it into like the sound, like what it sounded like when I was eating, what it tasted, every single spice that was in the sauce, and I broke it down into tiny little pieces that I could grab each piece to put together a whole experience of enjoying food through manifesting it in a meditation. By doing that through meditation, I was reconditioning my mind, and I was reteaching it that I like food and that certain foods made me happy. And I had to recondition my mind, because somewhere in my trauma that I was holding, my mind was like, it derailed from the flavor of food. That is how my body energetically chose to respond to that trauma. So that's where it comes in with yourself. You have to relive something you enjoy that was taken from you through that trauma, which means looking within yourself. So when you suffer from something that changes how you feel about something, where it becomes something that you no longer enjoy, you have to retrain your mind and recreate those good experiences through meditations, through visuals, even if it's through journaling, and you recondition your mind, you recreate and redo the thought process, and it's not going to happen overnight. There are people that have had trauma in their life their whole life, so they can't expect to just heal in one meditation. You have to take each piece of yourself that's been broken and recreate it. It's almost like you're putting yourself back together through visualizing yourself as whole, through the feeling of joy in the things that you've experienced that you enjoyed at that time, so that you can remind your mind and recondition yourself to realize there was a time in your life where you were okay, so you can bring that forward into the present through your healing journey. And keep reminding yourself every day that you are okay, because what'll happen is when you start with reminding yourself that you were okay, and you're like, you were okay, this was the time that you enjoyed, and you keep repeating that over and over, it turns into, I am okay. And that's where you start your healing journey, when you start to realize that you're now okay. That trauma was lived through, the energy of it is no longer cycling in your energy body, which means the illness that manifested into the physical body will start healing.